Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Flounder 1960193 and says, friend is mad at me because I wouldn't buy essential oils from our friend who works for an MLM. All of us 25 female. Now, I'll just remind you, if you are new to Reddit stories and you haven't heard of MLMs, they are multi-level marketing. It's just been a while since we've read one, so I was pretty excited when I saw this title. And it starts off, so up until very recently, I honestly had no idea that essential oils were sold by MLM companies, or that people thought that they had healing powers. I've been diffusing them for a few years because I like that they are cleaner and safer than candles and incense. That's the only reason. Last week I invited 3 old friends from high school over for wine and appetizers. Just a typical hangout. My friend Katie invited Kara. Kara went to high school with us, but I was never close with her, so I wasn't friends with her on Facebook or anything. As soon as Kara saw my diffuser, she said her side job is selling essential oils and basically started pitching me. It was pretty obvious right away that she works for an MLM, but I honestly didn't care. The way I saw it, since I use these oils all the time, I'd rather support someone I actually know than give my money to some company on Amazon. So I told her to shoot me a Facebook message later and we could talk about it. Anyone who's familiar with MLMs knows what's coming next. I was prepared to pay for a bit of markup, but the prices were insane. Kara wanted close to $30 for something I could get for $5 on Amazon. So I thanked her for reaching out and told her that the oils were way out of my price range. Kara tried to tell me about how her oils were more pure than mine and how they have healing powers. I told her I'd just go to the doctor when I'm sick and I don't need the oils for anything but making the room smell nicer. Then she got a bit nasty. Told me I'm poisoning myself with my cheap oils and said I wasn't smart enough to see the opportunity she was presenting me with. Basic MLM stuff. And I barely know Kara, so I didn't care. The issue is the text I got from Katie yesterday. She said it was really rude of me to lead Kara on and make her think I was going to buy something, and that she didn't think I was the kind of person who'd buy from a faceless corporation over supporting a friend who owns her own business. She said I didn't need to start buying all my oils from Kara, but it was downright disrespectful of me not to at least try a product and see if it was better. I honestly stared at my phone for a straight minute after I read that message, but I finally sent the following reply. I didn't waste Kara's time by hearing her sales pitch. I was legitimately interested in her product until she mentioned it was 6 times what I normally pay. Any legitimate business person would understand how important pricing is to people and would be smart enough not to back a company that charges that kind of markup. Personally, I think it's a bit of a stretch to call Kara a business owner. I think an actual business owner would know better than to insult a potential client after they chose not to buy anything. And they certainly wouldn't turn around and trash that potential client to mutual friends, as Kara clearly did with you. It's been over a day, and Katie still hasn't texted me back. She's obviously acting like a jerk, but she is a really good friend and I don't want this to end our friendship. Should I reach out? What should I say? Now, as I said, we haven't covered an MLM story in a long time, but always when we covered these stories, I always talk about this person that I knew that got into MLMs. And they've done several different ones from candles to makeup to other stuff. And they always get themselves hooked into it. Like saying, oh, this particular bit of makeup will change your complexion completely. And then putting 2 photos on, one where it's really bad light and she's basically sat in a cupboard, and the other one which has got perfect lighting. And in the one where she sat in a cupboard, she's not smiling, and the new one she's smiling. So, it instantly makes the photo look a lot better. And as with most MLM companies, they try and get you to recruit your friends as well, and they have to buy a £250 startup kit. But this cheeky Kara comes up to you and tells you and insults your intelligence by saying you're not smart enough to see the opportunity she was presenting you with when she's the one that's in the MLM. These companies are absolutely predatory, but Yellow Roman Candle says that business owner is deluded and brainwashed, and your friend is either down the MLM rabbit hole with her or an asshole. You were respectful and reasonable. Your friend and the MLM Hun, let me guess, doTERRA, Young Living, were not. You can't stop your friend from being unreasonably mad, and she can't force you to waste your money to save someone's feelings. Let her come to you. Otherwise, I'd say you need space from her. Not Happy Jane says you were right and you know it. Friends don't guilt their other friends into buying overpriced items from them and get mad when they don't have the budget for it. She was also pretty mean and personal about your choices. Friendship should not be conditional on that kind of support. It's supposed to be about emotional support, not financial. If they can't accept that they are not really your friend anyway, and they sound like they have been brainwashed by MLM, I'd basically smooth it over and call her up, or keep talking to her because you have to move on at some point. Unsure Throwaway says, honestly, I wonder if your friend invited Kara along because she knew you already used essential oils and would be an easy mark. Now they're mad you didn't play into their plan. Let your friend stew. You're right and you both should know that. If she considers you as good of a friend as you consider her, this will pass. Inquiring about the products someone is selling and then declining when it's clear it doesn't fit you isn't leading them on. It's literally the whole point of working in sales. Yeah, and I kind of think that comment is right, that Katie brought Kara along under the premise that she was going to get some free item if OP bought some items from her. You know, it's one of their things. I used to get proper into MLMs. But 853 says she can only recommend things to buy, but cannot force you to buy it, which you need to make clear to her. If she is mad at you for such kind of things, then you cannot do much and no need to go out of your way to make her happy, as that is not required. The bad thing is that she was mean to you, which suggests she is not your real friend. This is a red flag in your friendship to be careful and do not allow people to take advantage. Jar Jar says, I used to be Kara. After I got out of it, MLM, I realized I turned many people off and how crazy I used to look and sound. I don't regret experiencing it because it led me to meet people and made real friends out of it, but it is something that isn't fit for the majority and is very unstable, socially damaging for some. I think you explained yourself politely and honestly to Katie and don't really need to say more. I wish Katie were to understand your perspective. And absolutely that, it is very socially damaging. I know for a fact that the person that I was talking about that used to basically spam Facebook all the time, create multiple groups, invite people all the time. You know, these people put them on basically mute, or I can't remember what it's called on Facebook. Basically, that person wasn't able to see that you pretty much blocked them. But that's what happened. They're just like, I don't want to see that shit on my timeline anymore. But OP come in with their update and said, this isn't the update I wanted to be writing. A lot of you made correct predictions the other day. Katie is absolutely in Kara's downline. She just started making Facebook posts about the essential oils she's selling. I think this is probably the final nail in the coffin of our friendship, which I'm sure sounds dramatic, but hear me out. Katie and I have been friends since high school. The main thing that held us together these years was being burnouts. Neither of us went to college. Both of us just got shitty jobs out of high school and did nothing productive. When I was 22, I decided I was sick of making $12 an hour, and I went back to school. After 3 years of busting my ass, taking credit overloads and doing evening classes after summer internships, I recently graduated with a CS degree and got a coding job with a top 10 tech company. While I was in school, I had a difficult time making friends, probably because I was older than everyone else, and I clung very hard to my high school friends like Katie. My friendship with her definitely was strained though. She seemed to think that me bettering myself meant that I looked down on her. Things started getting really difficult when I started getting high-paying internships. They got worse when I got an extremely well-paying job right out of college, and she saw what kind of apartment I was able to afford. Katie lives in a very small apartment with a roommate. She would talk about how school had changed me for the worse and how I thought I was better than her. Some of it was just her projecting insecurity, but some of it was also probably tactless behavior on my part. The truth of the matter is that I do think Katie is capable of being better, and it frustrates me that she'd prefer to buy into a pyramid scheme than get an education. Her parents still have a college fund, and I've told her that she's welcome to it. It's something like $100K, way more than she'd need for 2 years at a community college and 2 years at a state school. if she chooses to go back. But I guess she'd rather get rich quick, hawking essential oils. Anyway, it's pretty obvious that Kara is Katie's mentor now. And after that smackdown I laid on Kara about what a bad businesswoman she was and how essential oils are stupid, I'm guessing Katie is probably done with me. To her, it probably just seems like yet another example of me looking down on her. I appreciated what a lot of you said about how friendship shouldn't be predicated on buying things. I think I also just need to accept that we've outgrown each other, and this would have happened soon whether she got into essential oils or not. I'm still sad though. A commenter says, many of these MLMs meet a lot of the criteria for cults, particularly advocating cutting off anyone who doesn't support your oily journey or whatever. Don't let Katie drag you down with her. Absolutely. That could be a slippery slope. I'll get my coat. Weasel Panties says, it sounds like it's time to distance yourself from some of your old friends. It's unfortunate, but some people really do hate it when their friends become successful. MLMs also tend to be cult-like and brainwash people into believing that not buying from them equals undermining them. It's just so incredibly sad. Going back once again to something that I've seen is that they complain on their own social medias about friends and family not supporting them and their business. And on anti-MLM, that subreddit, great subreddit by the way, I've seen like people shown that that's actually been used as a tactic to get people to buy from you, and it just alienates all your relationships around you. And it's incredibly sad for these people at the same time because they don't see it until it's too late, until they've been isolated so much from the people around them. But now I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What about you? Has any of your friends or family been into MLMs? What happened with you? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Faxed, who says, my 26 female husband's 26 male family keep referring to me as his best friend. What does this mean? My husband Robbie, 26 male, and I, 26 female, got married earlier this year. It was a beautiful day and I felt so much love and support from both sides of our family. 2 months after our wedding day, we celebrated my birthday at my in-laws' house. It was nothing major, just a dinner and a night together with me, my husband, his mum, 50s female, dad, 50s male, and sister, 22 female. This is the first night I noticed them referring to me as Robbie's best friend. After my birthday dinner, we were all sitting together in the living room, just chatting and having some drinks. That's when my sister-in-law got a phone call from a good friend of hers. When she answered the phone and her friend asked what she was doing, she replied that it was her brother's best friend's birthday. I had never heard anyone refer to me as Robbie's best friend. I am his wife, and before that we were engaged for over 2 years. Hearing my sister-in-law refer to me like that confused me greatly. I always refer to her as my sister-in-law, and I would expect her to do the same. Or maybe even as Robbie's wife, but certainly not best friend. After my sister-in-law hung up her phone, I asked her why she referred to me the way she did. She did not seem at all abashed. She just said, well, you are best friends, and that's what mum and dad call you, referring to mother-in-law and father-in-law. My sister-in-law and I are by no means very close, but we are nice to each other and have never had any fights. We just don't hang out outside of family functions because our personalities are pretty different. She's never made it seem like she was annoyed or mad at me. I decided to let it go that night, even though it weirded me out. But then it all happened again a few days ago, which is why I'm writing this post. My mother-in-law and I both work in the same industry, doing similar jobs but at different companies in the area. Sometimes our companies collaborate when we have clients who switch over. This week we had that happen, and I had to pay a visit to my mother-in-law's office to help a client transition. My mother-in-law was in the office, so I stopped by to say hello. While I was there, she introduced me to her colleague, and once again I was perplexed by how she did it. She said, "This is my son's best friend." As I was shaking hands with the colleague, I paused and awkwardly said, "I'm his wife." The colleague looked confused, but mother-in-law continued to smile and didn't address it. Once we were alone, I asked my mother-in-law why she referred to me like that. Just like my sister-in-law, she didn't seem to act like it was weird at all, and said the same thing. Well, you are best friends. The only thing that I can think of to explain this is that My vows to Robbie, I promised to continue being his best friend. Nobody acted like this was odd or special, and I feel like it's a pretty common thing to put in vows. So I'm not sure why Robbie's family seem to have clung to it, unless it has nothing to do with everything. I've spoken to Robbie about this too, and he is also perplexed by it. He asked his parents privately about it, and they gave him the same answer they've been giving me. It all just feels like some sort of bullying behavior to me, but I've never felt a sense of this from them before. Are they calling me his best friend because they don't like the fact that I'm his wife? Or is it some sort of inside joke they've been in on without me? I'm not sure what to do or make of it, especially because the in-laws are acting like it's not an issue when I bring it up. Yes, I am Robbie's best friend, but I'm also his life partner, and their daughter-in-law and sister-in-law. I don't know what to do. Any input or advice would be welcome. Now, when you said about the vows, I thought, is it some sort of like passive-aggressive thing about that, maybe? But you're absolutely right, this is completely weird behavior. Even after you've questioned it, they just keep doubling down with, well, you are best friends, not actually tackling the fact that that's a weird thing to say in the first place. Whilst I'd probably say, yeah, if you could refer to me as his wife from now on, or something along those lines, I'd also want to know the actual reason behind it, because I don't think you're getting it at this point. But Purple Bishop says, how about just being straightforward? Yes, Robbie and I are best friends, but now that we are married, I would prefer that you refer to me as his wife, as I treasure our relationship. Thank you. Micah says, came to say this exact same thing, and after that I said continue to correct them if they use the best friend moniker again. Maybe at the next family gathering, present a united front. Both husband and wife asked parents and sister-in-law to address the wife as Robbie's wife. Honestly, I think they are mocking the OP for the vows. That's the only explanation I can reasonably come up with. Valkyrie Sword says definitely feels mocking or passive-aggressive. Clearly they didn't like something about the vows. Interesting. OP comes in with her update and says thanks to everyone who offered helpful advice, and to those who have been kind in sharing their own experiences. I'm sorry to hear that this is not exactly a unique experience. Unfortunately for my relationship with Robbie's family, shit has hit the fan. Yesterday afternoon, Robbie and I were invited over to his parents' house for dinner. I have a big project due this week at work, so I needed to stay home and wrap it up. I told Robbie to go catch up with his family while I ordered a pizza. Apparently, this is when Robbie decided he was going to set things straight and figure out why his mum and sister keep referring to me as his best friend. Please keep in mind that I'm telling this story based on the details that my husband has given me. Robbie had a normal dinner with his folks, but they were all drinking a bit more than usual. Robbie decided to bring over some scotch that one of his groomsmen gave him for a wedding gift, so him and his dad were especially loose. Robbie and his dad tend to have a guy time together after dinners, where they hang out in his dad's garage and talk car stuff and projects at home/work. This is where Robbie confronted his dad about the whole situation. From what I can tell, it took some coaxing to get this information out of father-in-law, but eventually he admitted to Robbie that my mother-in-law and sister-in-law and him were all in some sort of bet as to how long mine and Robbie's marriage was going to last. Father-in-law bet that we would stay together, whereas mother-in-law bet less than 1 year, and sister-in-law bet less than 6 months. Apparently there was a cash prize involved. I don't really know how much it was. Father-in-law admitted that he believes the whole best friend moniker was a way to get under my skin and cause doubts about my relationship with Robbie and his family. They think that if they acted like it was a non-issue for long enough, that it would drive me crazy and start making me angry at Robbie for not intervening. Robbie then says he stormed into the house to confront his mum about this all. It ended in a screaming match between Robbie, mother-in-law and father-in-law. Robbie eventually stormed out and walked to a nearby gas station, and from there he called me for a ride since he couldn't drive. This morning I drove Robbie back to get his car. We had a horribly awkward confrontation with his parents. Mother-in-law is apparently pissed at father-in-law for betraying the secret, and they were fighting about it all night. Father-in-law will be staying with us in our extra bedroom for a couple of days, or until they can calm down and talk to each other again. Robbie is now set on going no contact with his mum and sister. He's angry with his father, but is more willing to forgive him. Personally, I'd prefer if we saw a family therapist before doing this, but we are still ironing out the details. Hopefully we can get through this with both marriages intact. The first commenter says, while the way they're treating you is abhorrent, and not something I would do to a stranger or even someone I dislike, There's a whole nother level of messed up to try and sabotage their son and brother's marriage on purpose. What kind of monster actively tries to wreck their family member's life to win a bet? Gross. Not So Religious Now says, wow, listen, if your husband is set on going no contact with his mum and sister, respect his decision. You seem like you're trying to play peacemaker, but they have horribly disrespected you and your marriage. What they did was all kinds of fucked up. Even father-in-law was an arsehole for his part in it, even if he was the only one on your side. Sort of. Family therapy only works and helps if all parties involved are willing to try, but it frankly sounds like the women hate you, want you gone, and will never give you or your marriage a chance. Zombie Healthy says OP, he's going no contact in part because of the bet, but also in part because I can guarantee this is not the first time his family is engaged in really crappy behavior towards him. He knows his family far better than you and knows whether no contact is warranted. I wish I had realized this when my husband was trying to distance us from his family, and I kept inviting them round trying to play peacemaker. You need to let your husband take the lead, and you need to support any decisions he makes here. Also, from here forward, you can have a lot of fun with this. When introducing his mum or sister people, you refer to them as husband's birth mum and sister as his mum's daughter. Both are accurate, just like you are his best friend. Also, I'd suggest he hang this one out in the extended family group chat. Let his grandma deal with his mum. I'm sure her family will make mincemeat out of her ass hattery. Absolutely, I'm with those comments on that one. I wouldn't try to play peacemaker with this. I'd let your husband deal with it. Look at what they've tried to do. Place a bet against your marriage. Trying to drive you crazy to the point where you're going to be angry at your husband and cause some damage to your relationship. And not people that you need in your life. Holy moly. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? How would you deal with it? Is there any peace to be had here at all? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Just a huge thank you from the bottom of my heart for getting involved in today's stories. Your love, your support, your time always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.